How's it going today? Today we're going to talk about 5 signs for a good stock. What I look at and everything. I put up about the 5 best things that I look for in the market on a stock to buy. Make sure you like and subscribe. I pick these stocks. You can just look for yourself, or you can just buy the ones. I can leave a link of the 10 best stocks for the next bull market and everything like that. When I made back in March, they've done pretty well. So make sure you subscribe. I give updates on their pick stocks. But today we're going to talk about what I look for. I get a lot of questions on what do I look for in a company, and I got about 5 signs that I look for. So we're going to get right into it. And this is probably my number one reason I go for certain stocks is it's a number one company in a growing market. And what do I mean by that? I mean, think about let's sit back and I think a lot of people just try to focus on the stock. They just try to focus on the company. Let's focus on the market and the industry. What industries are growing big? Let's sit back and think about that. You know what? And it doesn't have to be massive. It doesn't have to be, you're not looking for the next, the Amazons or something. I think people shoot for the moon too much with that. And there's a lot of the companies that they don't talk about. They talk about Amazon because it's the biggest and it's done well. But let's sit back, and Amazon's a good one. Amazon is one that a lot of people can recognize, and that's why they talk about. But let's think in online dating. Online dating is becoming more attractive. Right? That's a growing market that nobody really talks about. And that's why I recommended Match Group. Match Group is the number one in that growing market. Let's say video games. It's growing, right? Well, what's the number one company in that industry? Activision. And it's been a big winner. It doesn't have to be, then you pick the cloud stocks, a lot of the cloud. And that's how I kind of distinguish between which one's the biggest, which one's growing the fastest. There's a reason these companies are the biggest. The reason, because maybe they're just good at networking, they're good at getting people on their stuff, and maybe they just have a good product. So that's why I always pick the number one in a growing market. Look at the Trade Desk, Shopify. It's probably the number one in e-commerce to help people build a business. So everything's going online, and it helps people build a website. And it's doing well. That is, and look at Netflix. Everything's streaming and Netflix. There's a lot of other industry other than the ones people talk about, but you just kind of pick the number one and then come in that. And here's the other thing with those things. Normally, them stocks are not cheap. They're not cheaply priced, and some companies never really look cheaply priced. Look at Salesforce. Look at Adobe. A lot of these companies are really never priced. And look at the cashless society. Look at MasterCard, Visa. These things are growing, and they're number one. You don't have to pick the little penny stock that might fly up one day. That might happen, but you really just you're really just haven't taken on too much risk and not really understanding it 100%. But anyway, now that's the one reason. The other one is it making new highs. So this one kind of ties into the next one. A lot of people look for the ones that hit the bottom. I don't really look at the new lows. I look at the new highs. I think to myself, the reason it's sitting at an all-time high is probably because it's growing. A lot of these picks that I pick are sitting at all-time highs. Shopify. That thing's almost went up, 4 times? Or at least, doubled since I picked it, and Activision was at an all-time high when I picked it, when I bought into it, years ago. And actually Square is actually one of the recent ones. I picked it. It was sitting at an all-time high. I could leave a link of them stocks that I picked. I think it was June of last year that I picked. Every single stock was basically my best performer, and they continue to do well. And them ones you just keep adding to. They normally the good ones just get better. And now the next one I look at for number one, the third sign is what I call the Netflix effect. And what the Netflix effect is it does something better and cheaper. And I love things that do better and cheaper. Everybody does, right? Who wants it? If you can buy an Apple phone for half the price, you probably buy it, right? That's just kind of common sense. But what the Netflix does, it's really kind of innovation. Obviously, you can't just steal Apple and do their stuff. But what the Netflix effect is, because Netflix came around and it changed the way we watch TV. First, it changed the way we rent movies through the mail. And secondly, and then it got digital. So it made things easy, and it's cheaper. It's cheaper than the alternative, which was at the time cable and satellite. That stuff like DirecTV and Dish Network, that stuff is expensive. That's $100 a month versus Netflix, which at the time it was like $6. $6, and you don't have to watch anything. I mean, that is what I coined the phrase better and cheaper. And that's why Google has done well. That is better and cheaper advertisement. You can target more people more effectively, so you can spend less money. And same as the trade desk. It's making companies easy. It's easier and it's cheaper. So a lot of these businesses, you have to think through, and some are more expensive, especially when you get on the consumer side. I mean, but usually if a company can make something better and cheaper, look at Amazon, it could do massively well. Look at, you think of all the companies, that makes something better and cheaper. Look at Match Group. It's easier to find dates online. So everybody's trying to go for the path of the least resistance. And that's how we kind of move forward our society. That's how things get slowly better over the long term, especially technology and stuff, because everybody's looking for a better and cheaper, efficient, better way. So them companies, once they figure out how to make something better and cheaper, they go always do well. Look at Shopify. It makes it easier to build a website. It makes it cheaper to build a website. It's $30 a month or whatever it is now. $30 a month can make you a website. I mean, come on. Back in the day, in the 2090s, if you built a website, you would have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, that was the big thing, So anyway, now the next one is the reason I don't buy a lot of stocks is it has to have a strong moat behind it, or it has to have a reason to increase its prices. It has to be so good that it can increase its prices. And that's why I never recommended marijuana. I could leave a link why I never talked about that, because is that a growing market? Yeah. Could I pick a number one stock in that? Are they hitting all-time high? Yeah. Does it have maybe a Netflix effect? Maybe it's cheaper and better. I guess it may be better. If you want to have marijuana, obviously it's probably better to buy it legalized than illegal, obviously. I mean, that's kind of, but does it have a strong moat? You know what I mean? So that's where it kind of go, well, probably not. Everybody can get into the marijuana business. Is there a distinguished brand? So that's where it kind of falters, and that's why I never really recommend it. I could leave a link down for that video where I talk, because I get a lot of people talking about cannabis stocks, and that's why I never really recommended them. And thank God I didn't, because them things are getting killed. And that's why I didn't, because it's almost like a race to the bottom. Basically, there's no really moat around it. There's no reason. It's just like, let's think Apple products. I mean, there's a reason you buy Apple products. You probably like the company better. It's a better product. I mean, there has to be some competitive edge, or maybe, and sometimes that's because the product is better, or it's just a high entry level to get into it, like railroads. You have to have a railroad track, a trains, or maybe planes. It's kind of hard barrier enter where it's a lot of capital expense. You have to buy the planes, you know what I mean? It's a lot to get into that. So it creates this moat. And also with banks, sometimes it's legal, like banks, and also cars is one of these things also. That's why we don't really have a whole lot of car companies around. You have maybe 5 or so. You don't really have a whole lot of them that are really, really big. And you have Ford, GM, and then maybe Toyota and all that, and maybe Tesla. But anyway, that's why I like a strong moat. It has to have it has to be better than the competitors. So I just kind of picked the number one, and that also ties into the number one. So really, and now the next one is what I call, it's kind of like Tim Cook talked about it with Apple, and it's kind of the eco effect. It's the ecosystem. It's they bought the product, the original iPhone, but we can make more money off of them, right? We can make more money. We can make money by this way. We have multiple streams of very, very good income, right? Think of Apple. When you buy the phone, their job is then to sell you the services, sell you the Apple, the headphones that go with it, everything, the charge ports, and that's what I call the ecosystem. That's what he talks about. They have Apple News now, Apple Music, Apple this. It has basically Apple TV. So you buy the phone, you buy this, and you buy everything from Apple. And that's how they can kind of do it. Think of Amazon. Amazon is another great example of it. Guess what? You buy the stuff online, and then you start the Prime membership, right? They make even more, and it's the way they can branch out and make even more. Look at as Shopify also is doing that. And another thing, you build the website, But then there's other tools that you need to use. Like you can buy and sell your website. If you choose to close it down, you can sell it on Shopify. Or if you need financing things, you need help. So essentially, they give you the software, and basically you pay for that software to use to build your website. But then there's all these other things they can make money off of, and then they make, so you can see it's like a little ecosystem. So it's hard to move once you get launched on there. It's hard to move, and they can just keep charging you money. That's just how good businesses work. Think of it like a bank. Banks do these usually pretty well. Actually, that's the only reason growth. They always just, like I always say, the banks, they really don't do anything innovative. They just find more ways to charge you fees. The transaction fees. They're this. You can open up this account, that account. It's like Wells Fargo when they did all that scandal. What were they trying to do with that scandal? You know what I mean? They would try to make people open up more accounts for the banks so they have more fees and more transactions. And think of that when I think of an ecosystem. It's multiple. It's a company that can branch out to do multiple things. Like Netflix, that's one thing I don't really like about Netflix. Netflix makes only money through subscriptions. And I'm not saying own it. They don't have to have all these things to be a great stock. And Netflix was a perfect performer and a great performer, but it has the Netflix effect and this, and it's cheaper and it's better and it's a great company. And it's not a race to the bottom. They have pricing power. So this one is really just the icing on the cake. Everything else is like the cake. You have to have that. If you have a horrible ecosystem, people will leave really, really quick, because people get real mad when you're like, oh, well, they just keep charging me fees, like Blockbuster. Like, hey, how we boost our revenue? Just charge them late fees, And it wasn't a very good business. So this one, you have to be kind of careful with it. If you just keep charging fees with no better product, you're going to just go race to the bottom, and nobody likes it. Then we're like, well, that has too many fees. Then your competitors go, no fees, no late, that's what kills them. But anyway, hopefully this video helped you out. Hopefully you guys just kind of sit back and think about it before you buy a stock or whatever you guys are looking into, an investment idea. And hopefully this helps you. Hopefully this video kind of gets you where I'm thinking and what I'm doing when I pick these stocks. And this is kind of my philosophy. But anyway, thank you for watching. And make sure you like and subscribe where I pick stocks. I can leave links and stuff like that. And thank you for watching. Thank you.